Good afternoon. One thing that God made clear in the Old Testament is that He was very interested in His people bringing sacrifices. They had to bring animals, it seemed like, all the time. Animals from their own flock. The nation had to bring animals, and all of those animals ended up at the temple. And there at the temple, there was sacrifices going on. Sacrifices where those animals were losing their life. The priests seemed like they were always busy with sacrifices in the morning, in the evening, all throughout the day. Sin offerings, thank offerings, grain offerings, drink offerings, all being brought. And all of those offerings, all of those sacrifices, the people bringing those animals were doing it because God told them to do it. But it seemed like all those animals were doing was getting sacrificed. They were getting put to death, burned on the altar, and then they were gone. Some of those sacrifices they were able to eat portions of. Some were for the priests to eat and be satisfied. But all of those animals lost their lives, and then nothing much happened to them. They just burned on the altar, and that was it. A person could have walked away thinking, what is it all for? But God made sure that everyone understood what it was for. He says that in the New Testament book of Hebrews. He says in Hebrews 9, verse 22, "And nearly everything is cleansed with blood according to the law, and without the shedding of blood there is no forgiveness." And right there, the people could understand what all the sacrifices were for. It was for the blood. In every one of those sacrifices, the blood was removed. The blood was treated as special. The blood was the focus of everything about those sacrifices. And why? Because God said, attached to the blood and the sacrifice of the blood is forgiveness. And every one of those blood sacrifices pointed ahead to the greater sacrifice that Jesus would make on the cross. When He shed His blood, His perfect blood for you and for me, and that blood grants you and me forgiveness. Without that blood, the blood of Christ Jesus, the greater and greatest sacrifice of all, without that blood, there can be no forgiveness. But since He shed that blood, Jesus has granted to you forgiveness. Until we see each other again, the Lord's blessings on your day.